Hey, good afternoon. Today I want to talk about the 8-ish hidden traps that can come from relocating if you're retiring. Most of these are financial traps that people aren't even aware of. A lot of things that we had to consider when we moved. So I want to bring some of these up for you. These are some that we encountered, some that we didn't. So it kind of depends on your situation, because if you're going to buy again when you relocate, your situation is going to be different. We did not buy, we are renting because that's what we have found going to work best for us for now. But here's some of the things that people have come across, and that I've known some friends that have had personal experience with this. One of them is counting on too much of your equity of your property. When you sell, you think you're going to get X amount of dollars, and by the time you get done paying all your fees and paying everybody that gets money from your sale, you end up with a lot less money than you expected. We were very happy and content with our sale of our property, with no issues, and everything went as expected. I pretty much knew where we were going to end up, but that's because I did the upfront work and figured it all out and said, okay, I have to pay this much in property taxes ahead. I have to pay, this much in this. I have to make sure this is covered. This is in an insurance thing, whatever. So you have to make sure you do your due diligence on that, and then figuring that stuff in. Sorry about it for that. This is number 2 is the closing costs on new property that you buy in a different state or even in a different area in general. This is one where I have some people I knew that had some personal experience with this. They bought a property actually in Florida. They were buying it as a rental, and we're going to just rent it out seasonally and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, got the closing costs and found out then that they needed thousands and thousands of dollars that they had not known about or accounted for when they bought the property. So that's one of the things you really need to look into is, what's it going to cost me to close? What's the title company asking? All those kinds of things. So make sure you get your ducks in a row depending on where you're going. If you're in your same state, it may not be as much and things may not change. But if you're going to state, you don't know what their laws are going to be, what their rules are, what their closing fees are. It kind of depends on where you're at. The third thing that a lot of people don't think about is hooking up utilities and the fees that come with that. Good grief, and it's hard to plan ahead when you do not live in that state. You talk about having that window that they're going to show up, and then you got to make sure you're there for that window as it is. But when you're out of state and then you missed an appointment or you missed the time frame, that's one thing, and you have to reschedule and start over. And the other part is that the fees that go to hook up when you're new, especially if you're coming from out of state and they don't know who you are, all the proofs of who we were, identity, insurance, everything paid, lease agreements, all that stuff. They were very fussy about those things. So you have to make sure you understand what those are and things that are going to go with that. And part of that is also understanding what you're getting, at least an idea what the costs are going to be monthly to for heat, electricity, air conditioning, etc. We basically swapped heating for 6 months of the year for air conditioning most of the year. But it's a little bit more affordable, and at least we can kind of set a number and go, this is what it costs us during peak season. We should be fine any other time. One of the things a lot of people don't think about too is that you have to have property insurance. Make sure that you can get property insurance for the property you're going to buy. And we had to have renter's insurance mandatory from the rental agreement that we had to sign. They had a preferred provider that we used, and it was seamless, but that took a little bit of doing as well, just because you are contacting people that you're not in the state with and you're not there. They would not even accept our lease signing and down payments and deposits without proof that we'd already signed up for insurance. So those things you need to be paying attention to, and especially if you're moving to areas that are like Florida, like California, where they could have wildfires and floods, anything where you get storms and damage. Make sure that you can get property insurance. I know in the Florida regions where they've been hit with hurricanes, a lot of insurance companies will not even touch your house. And so you need to make sure when you're going to buy, that house can be insured by somebody. Florida has a fail-safe, catch-all in-state insurance program to cover anybody who can't get covered, but it's like a last-ditch effort if needed. All right, another trap and financial trap that people can run into, I think, is that buying a home in general. If you're buying a home and taking on a mortgage, that should be something you really consider strongly, because you're going to be committed again. It's one thing to have, I realize with a rent, you're in a commitment all the time too. I've seen a lot of arguments back and forth about it's, why would you rent when you can buy, that kind of thing. Well, because I'm going to be in my 60s. I don't necessarily want to have a house payment that I'm tied to for the next 30 years, especially considering the fact that I probably won't be here in the next 30 years. And I don't want to strap my wife with either having to sell or having to make those house payments. With a rent agreement, we can keep our costs better, especially in Florida where we're going. And that could change. We could end up somewhere else. Who knows? That's just where we're at now. That's the plan now. Anything can change. But I really don't want her to have to worry about a mortgage and insurance and all those things in the case that I pass. That also, to go along that, my sixth topic here is about the property taxes and the possible HOA fees that you're going to have associated with those properties if you buy. A lot of the HOAs, especially in Florida regions, and they're going up everywhere that has HOAs. But Florida, particularly, at least recently, because of the storms and that, and the rules that the Florida government has put into place to protect after that building collapsed a few years ago down in Miami, HOA fees have had to recover and put more money away to cover the investment and repairs and maintenance of the building, and it has to be inspected and everything has to hit par. And what you don't want to get hit with is an HOA fee that goes up the next month and you didn't have any idea that it was going to happen, or property taxes go up, or the value goes up, or they assign you a special assessment that you have to make up and take care of right away. So you move in and find out, even if you're in a duplex, you find out that the roof is due for HOA and you can't, or due for a new roof and you didn't know about it and you're stuck. So that's another thing you have to think about. Number 7 is that you are moving away, and this is kind of non-financial, but think about the fact that you're moving possibly away from your friends and your support group and your family. These are people you've spent most of your life with, especially family, obviously. But if you have friends and a support group in town, that you go to, church group, whatever that may be, you are giving that up to move somewhere else. So you're going to have to get a new circle. And we talked about this in previous videos, but it's important that you have some support and you have friends and you have community, even if you have to build your own. So make sure you're doing that and keep that in mind if you're moving far away. Obviously, anywhere you go, if it's within driving distance or flight distance, but you're still going to have to accrue that cost. So that's one of my next points, is point number 8, is that you need to consider the fact that if you want to see your family and your friends more often, you need to make sure that you've budgeted to do that kind of travel. That was one of the things we had to consider, especially with my wife moving down. And us being separated, is I fly every 3 weeks on average. As we finish out the season here for summer, or coming into summer, I got my daughter graduates from college. I'll be back for that. I'm going down for an Easter break. I'm going down for the spring break. So those flights, even though they're relatively cheap with the provider I use, it's still an expense. And if you don't have that budgeted, whether it's me in my situation going to see her, or you wanting to come back and see your friends and family. We have a granddaughter that's going to be up here that we will be up to see as much as we can. So we make sure you have the money to cover those travel expenses. If you're close enough to drive, it's a little bit easier, but either way, it's something that needs to be considered. And then I actually have a bonus tip for you here. And this is something that a lot of people don't think about at all when they're talking about relocating. You think about the minor things, but there's a lot more involved in the packing and moving of a house. A lot more expenses that you weren't thinking about. I touched on this in a previous video too. What approximately it cost us for our truck was $3,000. What if you can't physically do the move yourself though? Now you're talking about hiring movers to pack you and unpack you and probably drive the vehicle for you. So like having a semi come in and using one of the big movers, that can get up to, I've heard, 10,000 and more. We looked into renting a pod, using those pods where they pick them up and deliver them for you. And they were like in the neighborhood of $6,000 each. And we would have needed probably 2 at least, just to get all of our stuff in there. Even collapsing it down to basically everything would fit in a 25-foot truck. So the cost of boxes, the cost of the wrapping stuff, paying to insure the trip, and insure your items while they're being shipped or even when you're driving them. All those things add up and it can be very expensive. So anyway, that's all I got for today. Just want to touch a few things about these common missed and hidden fees and traps that retirees fall into when they're going to relocate. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Give me a like if you did, and consider subscribing if this is the kind of information you're looking for. I appreciate it, and thumbs up would be great too. Otherwise, leave a comment. I try to get back to all the comments as much as I can. It's almost a full-time job to do that sometimes, but I do appreciate you, and thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.